Well, what began as a hunger strike inside the Delaney Hall Detention Center in Newark escalated into a volatile standoff over the holiday weekend involving protesters, federal agents, members of Congress, and Governor Sherrill. Demonstrators gathered outside the facility, which has been in the spotlight since reopening a year ago, amid allegations of inhumane conditions and retaliation against detainees, claims DHS denies. Tensions intensified when agents pepper sprayed the crowd, with Senator Andy Kim among them. Congressman Rob Menendez spent most of the last several days trying to gain access to the facility, and he joins us now. Congressman, we really appreciate your time today, especially given the fact that just a couple of hours ago, you walked out of Delaney Hall. So I want to ask you first what you personally witnessed. What did you hear? What did you see today during your visit?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. What you continue to hear from the individuals inside Delaney Hall is, yes, the conditions are horrible. Yes, they don't have access to the healthcare that GEO and ICE says they do, that the food is terrible. But overwhelmingly, what you hear is a lack of understanding of why people are there. These are people who have been going through the immigration process, people who are getting picked up at ICE check-ins and at court hearings, people who are married to U.S. citizens and have U.S. citizen children. There are individuals there who are pregnant. That's who's being held at Delaney Hall, not the individuals that Trump and the administration claim that are there. These are people who are our community members, who go to church with us, who send their kids to school with our children, and they are increasingly ending up at Delaney Hall, which is why we've been fighting so hard to hold this administration accountable, to try to shut down Delaney Hall, but to bring these stories to the public.
How did this situation, though, escalate so dramatically? From what we understand, there was a peaceful hunger strike protest. There are often demonstrators outside Delaney Hall. But now, as we speak, we have Senator Andy Kim, who was exposed to pepper spray, protesters who say they've been tackled and injured, pepper balls being deployed outside Delaney Hall. How did we get to this?
Well, I mean, ICE continues to escalate any situation that they can. My belief is that there's no need for ICE to be out on the street engaging with family members and advocates the way they were, but they did so because they wanted to shift the narrative from what's happening inside Delaney Hall to the situation that they manufactured outside. Including, firing off rubber bullets, including using tear gas and pepper spray, including, Senator Kim being impacted by that. They want that to be the narrative, especially, in right-wing media. And that's the narrative the administration wants to spin. And I believe they really sort of escalate a situation that didn't need to head in that direction, because they want the conversation to be focused there instead of the individuals and the stories of the individuals who are being held inside Delaney Hall.
DHS, as you know, and ICE, they've issued some pretty strongly worded statements. They say that agents used, quote, minimum force necessary after protesters blocked vehicles. From what you witnessed, how do you balance that? How do you respond to that?
Listen, ICE is consistent at least one thing, which is always spinning their narrative and the administration's narrative. The reality is that most of the people who were outside are family members, volunteers who help family members who are visiting loved ones, lawyers, members of the ACLU, members of immigration advocacy groups, people that are there for the right reasons. That was the overwhelming number of people that I encountered in the last several days. But the administration's going to do what they've done since day one, which is try to sell a narrative to the American people. And our responsibility is to pierce through that narrative so people understand the truth of what's happening, to balance against what this administration is doing.
ICE and Secretary Mullen insist that conditions inside are safe. They claim that there has been no hunger strike. Based on your conversations with detainees, Congressman, is the federal government being truthful here?
No, they're not, and they're operating under a technicality in terms of how they define a hunger strike, which is, individuals going without 9 consecutive meals. That's what I think they're trying to, the case they're trying to make in terms of there not being a hunger strike. But the reality is there's many individuals, both male and female, inside the facility who are participating in a hunger strike. And if the secretary has any doubt about that, he can visit at any time, as can my Republican colleagues, including the 3 here in New Jersey. But they refuse to do so. They issue press releases instead of showing up on site at the facility to have the conversations that so many of us have been having with the individuals there. But I welcome them to come anytime, because if they could speak with these men and women who are being held at Delaney Hall, I think they would come out with a much different understanding of what's happening.
Some of those colleagues have called this a political stunt by Democrats.
I mean, again, because they want to diminish our work and really the reality of what's happening inside. They don't want to have a conversation about the fact that there are pregnant women inside Delaney Hall. They don't want to have a conversation about the fact that the overwhelming majority of these individuals have no criminal record, because it's in direct contrast to what the administration has been selling the American people from day one of this administration. So, they're gonna throw insults at us. They're gonna try to distort the truth. But ultimately, by showing up, by sharing these stories, by communicating them with the American public, we can push back against that false narrative from the administration. I assure you, these are not political games. This comes out of a deep concern of the individuals who are being held there at Delaney Hall.
What explanation were you given, Congressman, after you tried to gain access for 18 hours? I understand that you were there overnight, about being denied that access. What did they say?
Yeah, so I showed up about 8:30 on Sunday night to conduct an unannounced oversight visit, as I have a legal right to do and have exercised many times before. And at first, I was told that it wasn't going to happen by a GEO employee. I said that's not satisfactory. I need to talk to someone from ICE. You're not allowed to bring your phone in, so I had to communicate through other individuals. And eventually, around 10 o'clock. A deputy field office director from the Newark office of ICE told me that because of what was happening on the outside, where those peaceful protesters were, that it was an unsafe condition, which I pushed back against and said, listen, I was able to come in here. I've seen cars come in and out of the facility in the hours that I've been here. It's just categorically false that the conditions outside would prevent you from coming here to give me the ability to do this oversight tour. And then it pivoted to, well, it's 10 o'clock at night. This isn't really a convenient time to do that. Nowhere in the statute does it say you have to come between the hours of 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. The point of doing an unannounced visit and having the legal right to do an unannounced visit is you can go anytime you want to see the conditions at any particular time. And it's pretty clear why they wanted to prevent me from coming in. I wanted to see my constituent, Martine Soto, whose wife is 4 months pregnant, has been there every day outside and inside when she can be during visitation hours. And they did not want to let me in because they had every intention of moving Martine, which they eventually did at about 2 a.m. in the morning in the dead of night.
Congressman Rob Menendez, thanks so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.